Hello everyone, Tmmgamer here, and today I am bringing you a brilliant Sunday Talk category. This one is going to be all about the age-old battle between the Xbox 360 and the PS3. Now, this has been a question that has split the gaming community and really split us into two quite vocal sets of fanboys. You know, on one side people say, oh, the PS3 is better, and the other side people say the Xbox is better. So what I'm going to try to do today is do an objective discussion to find out which one of these two consoles is the best. Now, just before I get in, I want to clarify how I'm going to do this. I am going to compare, for the hardware stats and stuff, the new Xbox and PS3 Slim versions, because these are the most recent versions released, really. So it's not fair that I compare versions of PS3s and Xbox that were released 4 years ago. So the fairly new PS3s and Xboxes are the ones I'm going to be comparing. Also, to help me do this, I'm going to be comparing several different categories to really help get down to the nitty-gritty of this discussion. So I'm going to be focusing on design, features, online, exclusive games, graphics, value, and the controller, because the controller is a big part of the whole console experience. However, I am not going to be considering Kinect or any form of motion capture software or any of that rubbish, because let's just be brutally honest, 99% of the people who play games do not want to stand up in the middle of their living room flailing a controller around their heads. They want to sit down, relaxed with a nice cup of tea and enjoy a game. You know, you can't enjoy a game when you're doing backflips in the middle of the room. So I'm not bringing Kinect or any other form of Kinect into the discussion at all. So let's get started. Let's start with design. Now, design isn't just how it looks, it's how it's built inside. So, for example, the Xbox, in my opinion, does look a lot nicer. You know, it just looks more striking. With the new PS3, the new like matte black finish, it makes it look tacky. You know, you can see that sort of plastic in a very cheap car from the 1980s. You know, it just seems like it's poorly put together, and I know it isn't poorly put together, but when you look at that new PS3, you think it looks tacky. On the other hand, the Xbox looks striking. You know, it looks very nice, and that is enough for Xbox to get the design feature. I know it was, you know, quite a simple topic to discuss, but, you know, looks and how the thing sits in your living room really do make a big difference, because you're going to be looking at this quite a lot of time. So you want something in your living room or in your room that looks nice. You know, you don't want it to be an ugly monstrosity, and I think the Xbox just has the advantage on this, because the PS3 does look a little bit cheap. However, also under design, I have to mention the Xbox 360's recurrent problem of shredding games. You know, I have seen mates whose Xbox have shredded 2 or 3 of their games just by slightly touching it. And basically, if you don't know what the problem is, the Xbox 360's disc tray is a little bit dodgy. You know, it doesn't spin the disc properly. So if you nudge the console when a disc is spinning, you can pretty much completely shred your disc. And my mate did this with his Rock Band 2 disc. When he came back from a night out, was just playing a bit of Rock Band 2, nudged the Xbox, and the disc ended up getting completely ruined and he couldn't play it again. So Xbox has an alarming tendency to shred every game you play, but I'm still going to have to give this category to the Xbox 360, because the PS3, especially, you know, quite a new PS3, it looks pretty tacky, and I know they've managed to shrink the size down so it isn't quite that massive box of cereal that it was before, but I still have to give this category to the Xbox. So moving swiftly on, let's move on to the features. Now, the features are not really gaming related. These are the additional features, like can it have Bluetooth connectivity, what hard drive can you install, can you watch high quality movies, that sort of stuff. And I have to say, this category is a crushing victory for the PS3, because if you'd asked me this question about a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have probably given it to the Xbox, because although the PS3 has had Blu-ray since day one, Blu-ray wasn't really that big a deal. You know, not many films got released in Blu-ray. They were very expensive, you know, but after having 3 or 4 years of Blu-ray films and all of these classic films getting re-released on Blu-ray, the Blu-ray player really has become a major feature now, and it's become something that you could, if you're a film buff, you can watch thousands and thousands of films in Blu-ray now. So having that ability to play those crystal clear films really is a massive advantage for the PS3. Also, the new PS3, you can install any hard drive you want pretty much. As long as you can fix it up to the circuits, it will go. With the Xbox 360, you can only install the hard drive you get from Microsoft. Now, if you don't like the hard drive from Microsoft, or if you have a problem with the hard drives keep breaking down, and you want to get a third-party hard drive, you can't do that with the Xbox, but you can do that with a PS3. So That's another massive tick in favour of the PS3. The third thing that's in favour of the PS3 is Sony's massive commitment behind 3D. Now, Sony and PlayStation seem to release a lot more 3D games, you know, games like Killzone 3, massive PS3 title, available in 3D, and Sony, if you guys watch the last E3, Sony are releasing a 3D TV that 2 players can look at the same screen and get 2 different 3D pictures out of it. No split screen, it's the full screen. You can watch it with your 3D glasses on and get one picture, while your mate next to you can watch it with his 3D glasses on and get a completely different picture. And that is just so cool. You know, the 3D compatibility, the Blu-ray player, the better hard drive, you know, all of these things mean that the PS3 certainly wins the features section of this. However, online is a category where I think Xbox 360 will come sweeping back, because let's just be brutally honest here, Xbox Live is by far and away better than the PlayStation Network. And I know that the PlayStation Network is free, and I know you've got to pay $50 a year for Xbox Live, but Xbox Live has so many better features. I mean, the first one, which is clearly the most important one, is cross-game party chat. Now, I have been wanting this on the PS3 for about 5 years, because sometimes you go online and you'll have 5 or 6 friends on 5 or 6 different games, and you can't talk to them all. You want to talk to them all, but the only way you could do it is if all of you left the game, because the PS3's party chat, you can only do a chat function, so you can't be in a game and then join another party chat. You know, also on top of this, gamer score works so much better than the trophy system, because the trophy system, it's just so much harder to compare your 2 accounts. With gamer score, you've just got a number. You can see how long you've played, how well you've done in your achievements. It's easy to compare. When you're comparing trophies, you've got to dive into several sub-menus, and then you've got to, you know, you've got 4 platinums, 3 golds, 20 silvers, 100 bronze. You know, how does that compare to 5 platinums, 1 silver? You know, you can't really compare trophies across that easily. So I have to say, the Xbox 360's party system and the online whole connectivity and the online market, all of that is so much better on Xbox. And I know you have to pay for it, but 50 quid a year is not a lot of money for all of the services you get. And you know, this is the one area where I think PS3 is still miles behind Xbox 360, because Xbox also has a much larger community of gamers out there, and I know about 50% of these are screaming 12-year-olds, and there's nothing more annoying when you go into a lobby on Call of Duty and half of the lobby are screaming 12-year-olds. But that's what the mute function's for. If you mute those screaming 12-year-olds, the Xbox 360's online settings and online performance is so much better than the PS3. So that is another quite crushing victory for the Xbox 360 in that category. However, the exclusive games category is one where I think the PS3 shines a lot more than it did when it was released, because when the PS3 got released, the only notable exclusive was MotorStorm. Pretty much every other game that the PS3 had that was exclusive was shocking. Now, I might have forgotten 1 or 2, but they really couldn't have been that good, because I can remember most of the big exclusive games for PS3. You know, things like Metal Gear Solid, Uncharted, all of that stuff. And I can't remember any decent ones in the first 3 years of the PS3's life cycle. Now, when you compare that to Xbox 360, which has stuff like Gears of War, Forza, you know, all of these big titles from very early on in the life cycle, you begin to think that the Xbox 360 is going to win this one. However, over the last 2 years, the PS3 has clawed the lead back. And in my opinion now, the PS3 has taken the lead over Xbox in terms of exclusive games, because the Xbox has Gears of War, Forza, like I've said, and it also has the unbelievable choice of Xbox Live Arcade. I mean, you can get games like Geometry Wars, literally anything you can get on that arcade, and that is a brilliant feature. However, games like Halo do not interest me. Halo looks like something that a guy designed in the lunchtime when he was completely off his head on, you know, some sort of drug, alcohol, or anything really. You know, I don't want to jump around with brightly coloured Space Marines blasting at people. It does not appeal to me at all. So I'm not going to count Halo. But when you look at the PS3's list of exclusive games, you've got Heavy Rain, Metal Gear Solid, Gods of War, Gran Turismo, Uncharted, Killzone, Ratchet and Clank, Little Big Planet, You know, these are big titles. These are very popular games. And when you take into account that a game like Mass Effect, which originally started out as an Xbox 360 exclusive, has now come onto PS3 as well, Xbox's argument in this category really is weakening. You know, if you'd asked me this question 3 years ago, I would have given the Xbox a crushing victory. But PS3 has really clawed it back. I mean, Uncharted and Killzone are two of the best games you can buy, and I know Killzone really isn't that, you know, widely sold in comparison to something like Gears of War 3, but Killzone has the best graphics I think I have ever seen in any other game, and the only other game that comes close is Uncharted 3. So two PS3 exclusive games are massive, successful, great looking, great playing games. You know, Killzone 3, for fun factor alone, has to be my favourite game on PS3. I have never raged at Killzone 3. I can use any class and enjoy myself so much, and that is something I cannot say about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, for example. So when you've got all of these fantastic exclusives coming out on PS3, Xbox 360's lead has just been wiped out. So whilst I would have given this category to Xbox a couple of years ago, right this second today, I give this category to PS3 because Xbox have rested on their laurels a little bit too much, and PS3 really have clawed this lead down. So, before we push on any further, let's just do a quick tally up of the scores. I gave the design category to Xbox, I gave the features category to PS3, I gave the online category to Xbox, and I gave the exclusive games category to PS3. So currently, it's 2-2, so it's a very tight battle. Right, let's move on to the fifth category, which is graphics. Now, I've touched on this earlier with the exclusive games, but I have to say the graphics category goes massively to the PS3, because Xbox, when it was released, was pretty much behind its time. You know, the graphics that the Xbox can give out haven't really increased for about 5 years now. This level is the current level that the Xbox can handle. PS3 can handle so much more in terms of processing power, in terms of pure graphics, you know, level size. You can get so much more out of the PS3, and you can see that so clearly with the PS3 exclusive titles. I mean, games like Uncharted 3, that has to be in the running for the best looking game of all time. I mean, the graphics on that are just incredible. And when you compare that to an Xbox 360 exclusive, sorry, like a Halo's graphics don't even come close. You know, the PS3 has virtually no limitations. The Xbox, you cannot go too far, otherwise the console can't cope. So, whilst I have to admit that the games made for both platforms are fairly similar, the PS3 exclusive games are just so much better graphically than the Xbox 360 exclusives, you know. I just would much rather sit and look at a game like Killzone, or a game like Uncharted, or a game like Metal Gear Solid, or Gran Turismo, than sit and look at a game like Halo, for example. You know, you can say Forza's up there in terms of graphics, but Forza, you know, Forza's one game. The vast majority of the other Xbox 360 exclusives aren't quite on the same level as PS3. So that means, in terms of graphics, I've got to give the victory to the PS3, because the thing is, I'm doing this on potential as well. You know, these consoles have still got a bit of life left in them. You know, the PS4 and the Xbox 720 or whatever they're going to be called aren't going to be out for another couple of years yet, you know, at the very minimum. So we're going to have to deal with these consoles for the next 3, possibly even 4 years. So think of how advanced gaming technology is going to be in 2 years. I reckon the PS3 will be able to cope with that. I reckon the Xbox will not be able to cope. So whilst at the moment the PS3 might have a slight lead, I'm expecting the PS3's lead to continue to get bigger, because the PS3 still has a lot of space for extra graphics, you know, extra processing. The games on PS3 can continue to get bigger and better. I reckon Xbox has peaked now. You won't see any more games on Xbox 360 that look markedly better than they do already. But on PS3, I reckon you're going to get games that look twice as nice in a couple of years' time. So this is another crushing victory to the PS3. My final major category, I'm bringing controllers in at the end, but my final major category is value. Now, once again, if you'd asked me this question 3 years ago, I would have had to have given this to Xbox, because although, you know, you have to pay 50 quid for Xbox Live, the console is normally a lot cheaper, and because you got so much extra features with Xbox Live, you felt like you were getting a really good value for money. However, I'm just going to read out the prices of two major UK-based retailers, and I'll show you what you can get. On Amazon.co.uk, you can get a PS3 with no games for 189 quid. On Amazon.co.uk, you can get an Xbox 360 with no games for £189. Now this is an identical price, and if you look at the hardware you get with a PS3, you know, the ability to get a new hard drive in which isn't a Microsoft or Sony one, Blu-ray player, Bluetooth, you know, all of these things, you get so much more for your money with PS3 now, and I never thought I would say that, you know. And this isn't just one example. I will show you another one. This is from GameStation, which is another major UK-based retailer. On the PS3, you can get a PS3 with Gran Turismo 5 for £214. You can get an Xbox 360 with Soul Calibur 5 for £219. So you can get a PS3 with a very, very good PS3 exclusive top of the range release for £5 cheaper than you can get an Xbox 360 with a top of the range release. You know, 5 years ago, whenever the PS3 got released, they were a couple of £100 more expensive than the Xbox. The fact that the PS3's value has dropped while still keeping quite a big lead in terms of the processing capability and the hard drive, you know, and all of these things. And I know you get a 250 gig hard drive on the Xbox 360, but let's be brutally honest, how are you going to fill that? I've got a 40 gig PS3 and I've had that for 3 years, and I am nowhere near filling 40 gig of memory. So how are you going to get, you know, that 250 gig hard drive filled on Xbox? You know, if it really gets that bad on PS3, I can buy an external hard drive. If I have a 360, you can't do that. You've got to buy another Microsoft hard drive, you know. That is the thing. PS3 has so many more options than Xbox, and now that the price is the same, I mean, it's the same in the UK, and I assume it's the same in the US or in Netherlands or in Germany or wherever you get it now. The fact that the PS3 and the Xbox, you can get them for the same price, it really does mean that the PS3 is the clear choice in the value stakes now. You know, I know Xbox Live is fantastic, but the fact that you have to pay $50 for that, which I probably think is about £30, you know, it would be roughly around £30. That just makes the PS3 even better value, because for £214 you get a game and online included. For £219 you only get a game with Xbox, then you've got to spend another 30 quid on online. So for me, the PS3 wins hands down in the value stakes. You know, the final category I'm going to finish off the commentary on is the controller. Now, like I've mentioned right at the start, the controller is quite possibly the most important thing in terms of a games console, because, you know, whilst there are slight differences in the graphics and that, the controller is a key part to enjoying your games. If the controller's clunky, or if parts of it don't work very well, you're going to have to sit there and deal with that for years. So you really want the controller to be well built and sturdy. And I have to say, the PS3 wins this again for me, because I know a lot of my friends say, oh, I don't like the PS3 controller, it's too small. You know, I'm sitting here looking at my PS3 controller now, and it just fits perfectly into my hand. You know, I don't have these tiny woman's hands as well. I have some pretty normal sized hands, and the Xbox 360 controller just seems too chunky. You know, the back of the Xbox 360 controller as well isn't quite as smooth as the PS3, so it's not a natural holding position. You've got to sort of wrap your hands around a little bit uncomfortably. And another major thing that makes me favour the PS3 controller is the D-pad. Now, on the PS3, every single button on the D-pad is its own, you know, button. It's not a whole 4 made up into one button like it is on the Xbox, so you never slip off. If I want to hit up on the D-pad, I'll hit up every time. If I want to hit up on the 360, especially if I've been playing, you know, games for quite a long time, I can slip off that controller and I can hit right. And when you're on FIFA and you're trying to set your tactics quickly on Xbox, sometimes your fingers keep slipping, or the D-pad doesn't respond, and you're furiously there trying to put counter-attack on, and then the opposition scores. So that's why I have to give this victory to the PS3. I know a lot of people say they don't like the triggers on the PS3, but I have never had a problem with them. I have never ever felt my fingers slip off on the triggers on the PS3. You know, I think Xboxers just use that as an excuse. You know, the Xbox 360 triggers might be slightly better, but I have never had a problem with the PS3 triggers. I like having both analog sticks at the bottom of the controller as well, not one up in the top left. I find that quite an uncomfortable position, to have my hands in completely different positions, like quite contorted. I find it much more natural just to let the PS3 controller sit in my palms of my hand and then have my 2 thumbs on the analog stick at the bottom. It's a very natural position to have your hands, and it feels a lot more comfortable to hold. And whilst you might like a slightly bigger controller, the PS3 controller isn't that tiny. It's not like you're playing with a miniature version of the controller. So whilst this is quite a highly subjective category, I find the PS3 controller so much more comfortable, so much more, it's lighter, it just fits nicer into your hand, and the D-pad on the Xbox is just so badly designed. I really don't like that feature. So that means that I give the final category of the controller to the PS3. So that's the end of this little bit of the talk. Let's top the scores up. So the first category, which is design, went to the Xbox 360. The second category, which was features, went to the PS3. The third category, that was online, went to the Xbox 360. However, the final 3 categories, exclusive games, graphics, value, and controller, all go to the PS3. Now, I know that is my own opinion with the controller, and you can possibly give the controller to the Xbox depending on what person you are. Personally, I see the PS3 as winning the console wars at the moment. The Xbox 360 won the console wars for 5 years, but now the PS3 is the same price. It has better hardware, it has better graphics, it has better exclusive games. The online, although not as good, is free, and that is a big thing. 50 quid a year. It doesn't sound much, but if you have an Xbox for 5-6 years, you can easily pay 200, 300, 400 pounds, in additional fees that you don't have to pay with the PS3. That's what I really like with the PS3. If you buy that console, you get everything. You get the store, you get online, you get the ability to play games, you get the ability to watch films, in Blu-ray. If you buy the Xbox, you get the ability to play games offline. You can't watch Blu-ray films, you've got to pay for online. And whilst the online is a lot better on Xbox, the fact that you have to pay, it's not a great thing really. Especially a company as big as Microsoft. If Sony can afford to give you free online, surely Microsoft can. But, I still give this victory to the PS3. Xbox has a big online superiority, and that is the one area where the PS3 really struggles. But in terms of features, in terms of exclusive games and graphics, I have to say the PS3 has taken over the Xbox 360, where 2 or 3 years ago the Xbox would have just won hands down. So guys, that's the end of my Xbox versus PS3 discussion. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I'd be interested to hear what you think about the categories I chose and how I compared them and my final decision, because I think this decision might have surprised you a little bit. Because the Xbox, like I said, won the console wars for so long. You could have expected it to continue winning into the future as well, but I have to say the PS3 has made some stunning advances in the last year or so that really has clawed the lead back, and in my opinion pushed it ahead of the 360. So guys, I would be thrilled if you could leave a comment saying anything about the video and whether you enjoyed it. But before I sign off, there's just one quick thing I want to mention. Guys, I am planning to do some Mass Effect 3 live commentaries for this week, so if you are interested in that, please just give me a thumbs up in the comments or something. Let me know that's something you want to watch, because I am loving the Mass Effect 3 demo at the moment. So that is the commentary done. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed doing it. So guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. I really hope you've enjoyed the video, and as always, have a fantastic day.